Alright, so 10.2 is an extremely difficult time to pull off any sort of swarm deck. However, I think that this could potentially be one of the stronger swarm decks if you're looking to play that style right now. And by swarm, I just mean fill the board with units and try and boost those units, right? Because we do a lot of that within this deck. But what makes this different than other swarm decks, what's making this more or less competitive during my games that I played, was the fact that we have a lot of control options and other win conditions if the swarm doesn't pay off the way we want it to. So we'll go through the deck here. We have Feign Death, which is a scenario. So it starts with a prologue. When we play this card, it'll bring out a Vernassal's Commando. So at the end of our turn, boost out by 1 if we control only elf units. Ignore the condition if we control Vernassil. So most of the deck surrounds elves. There shouldn't be a problem to get this condition. However, if we do play one of our cards that is not an elf, we can turn this card back online when we play the Vernassil, basically. When we play the first elf from hand, we'll be able to spawn 2 Deadeyes in a row, and when we play the second elf from hand, spawn and play a Waylay. Now, it's important that we set up the Waylay before we play our second elf, because this one here damaged an enemy by 3, death blow, spawn a Deadeye in a random row. We want to make sure we chisel something down so that we have 3 being a good death blow. I have a lot of reasons in the Bronze End to make that happen, like the Elven Swordmasters, the Vriad Officers, and the Blathanna Bowmen are really good at picking things down, making sure that they're 3 power, so when we do go and play either the Waylay from the scenario or a Waylay from hand, we have the ability to go and do that. Now, obviously we want to get these Deadeyes spawned on our side of the playing field because they're some of our payoff cards. When we are looking to fill the board, we're looking to put as many elves down as possible to benefit from something like the Isengrim's Council that boosts all other elves by 1, and whenever we play an elf, boosts out by 1. So we have the ones that spawn from the Waylays, the ones that spawn from the half-elf hunters, the ones that spawn from the Vernassil, and our leader, of course, and everything that could spawn potentially from the Simlas as well is all feeding into some of our big swarm payoff here. So keep that in mind when you are trying to set up your board state, right? You want to get as many cards down as possible. Now, Vernassil is a very versatile card. If we play it on melee, each Elven Deadeye damages a random enemy by 2, and if we play it on ranged, spawn 2 Elven Deadeyes in the row. How most of the time that we do play this card, it's going to be more points to play this on range row. However, there are times when we're going to want that control. Let's say they have a couple cards, 2-3 cards with order, and we have a board full of Deadeyes. It actually might make more sense to play this on melee and not spawn the additional Deadeyes, however do a bunch of damage to them to prevent the payoff from the cards that they have sitting there. So you have to use your discretion and really pay attention to the matchup to look at which one to play. I believe that you want to have at least 5 or 6 Deadeyes on the playing field to really want to benefit from playing it on melee. Otherwise, you're probably just better off taking it on ranged because you, like I said, you don't want to have a Verno that's playing for like 10 points. You want it to be always 12 plus points, right? So that's kind of the way I look at it. And it's sometimes safer to take on range so you're not hitting shields and armor and things of that sort. Maybe units that are 1 power, right? There's a lot of ways that the hits can go a bit wrong. So again, use your discretion with that. Now we have Simlas Finn, and this one here allows us to play op copies of a bronze special card from our deck. So the main targets in mind for this would be the Bountiful Harvests. These cards can create and play a bronze Scoia'tael elf, and depending on the position of the chosen unit, boost the leftmost, random, or the rightmost unit in your hand by 2. So really, doesn't matter what we boost, everything will eventually get played. However, it does matter what we create. We can go into something pretty nice and greedy, like a Sorceress. I didn't want to add them here. Here, we'll just close that. Comment on the YouTube. I didn't want to go and add them here because I felt like there was a little bit too much of a risk if we were to play them from our hand. However, I don't mind looking to create them with the Bountiful Harvest because we have 2 opportunities here. We have a 3rd opportunity with the Forest Protector, so it just makes a lot of sense to go about doing it that way. And then we give them some insurance with the Mushy Truffle boost from the Golden Froth just in case if they get damaged that way. But there's a lot of elves that are in that 4 or 5 provision range, right? Like if you look at all the options we've got, this is a really good pull. This is a great pull. Whisperers are always great pulls. Maybe we need a movement tech. We have options there. Maybe we want to greed something with a counter because we're playing a fair amount of specials. Maybe we just go for some damage, right? Maybe we just go for an engine. So I feel like it's really good to go and get those things, but generally speaking, their 5 or 6 provisions are the ones we're looking for most often. So we have that. And backups to that would be the rebukes that we have, right? Doing damage if we need to play a lot of control or playing into a really engine-heavy matchup. Let's say we're playing against Northern Realms and its mages, or Northern Realms and its siege. We want to take away as many of those engines as possible. So we have a couple rebukes, maybe a 3rd rebuke off Protector and whatnot. So it really helps out. And again, that's pretty much the point of these 2 cards here. Karathi Heatwave makes a lot of sense in the meta. It always makes sense to me. Banish a unit or artifacts. We could pick what we need to remove from the game entirely and get rid of it. This could be a Sigval, this could be a Melusine, this could be a Scenario, this could be really just about anything, a 20-point Sea Jackal, right? So whatever you feel needs to go right now, you get rid of it. So that's kind of what the Karathi's for. Mushy Truffle adds a lot of points to the deck. It also adds a very inexpensive swarm payoff with the Golden Froth that we're going to spawn, because we're going to be having tons of units. At least with the Golden Froth here, we can boost a few of them by 2. And we get something that can help us out. In the Bronze End, we have the Vriad Officers. When these are bonded, you're able to damage an enemy and boost an ally by 2. So you're doing both effects. So this can help nudge something down, help keep something of ours alive, maybe even boost up one of the Sorceresses off the Bountiful to a 6, so that we can cycle back another one. So it's a pretty versatile combo there, and I felt like this would be a more appropriate play than maybe like doing a Triss Telekinesis or something like that. And like what do you call it? There we go, Bone Talisman. That was just like the old school way to do it. But this is just like a little bit of a hybrid swarm payoff with a bit of utility, so I liked it that way. Now, Aileron's going to be very important for the deck because we don't have Oneromancy. I normally like to play cards like Oneromancy when I'm taking my Deadeyes. However, I feel like in this instance we need to get a little bit greedier with it, otherwise we just don't have the points, because they're going to be attacking a lot of our stuff here. We want to make our swarm stick, and that's kind of how it is. So we rely heavily on Simlas here for the thin for the bronzes, and we rely on Aileron here. I don't mind taking Aileron in round 1 for that reason. When we have 5 or more elves on the board, summon this unit from the deck to the melee row, so it's really easy if we're running Bountifuls or running tokens with the half-elf hunters, or we have Scenario or whatever the case, right, to get the 5 units out there. Our stratagem gives us 2 units, right, 2 elves. So there should be no issue at all bringing this out in round 1. This will help us pull into our better pulls later. Even taking Simlas round 1 is fine, because we get the carryover from the hand buffs of the Bountiful Harvests, right? So just some ideas to consider. And if those consistency attempts fail, we have one last attempt at it here with Maxi. So with Maxi on deploy, look at the deck in order from top to bottom. We can shuffle a card from the top, like from where it is to the bottom, essentially, right? So that's big, and it gives us the opportunity to shuffle our deck again if we don't like the way it is. If we like the way we're top decking, we can just leave it the way it is. So it helps kind of really help us set up a round 2 and 3. We play this in round 1, we're good to go with that. So I've been finding, based on the games that I played, the consistency has not been an issue. I think we've been missing on average about a gold card per game. I'm okay with that, and usually it's something in around here. Fortunately, it's not one of the top tier ones, but again, it's about getting those thins out early so we don't run into these problems. Isogram, we talked about it, boost all allied elves by 1. Whenever you play an elf, boost self by 1. One thing I want to point out is you want to make sure you play this after you've played your leader, because you would miss the points from the spawns. You want it, like, because it's whenever you play an elf, boost self by 1 afterwards, right? Not whenever you spawn an elf. So the spawns from leader, spawns from Vernaciel, spawns from Truffle, spawns from half-elf hunters, and the waylays. Try and get these out of the way first before you go and drop the Isogram. That's kind of how it is. And this timing plays really well into the Yavin, because once we get the board state nice and big, maybe we'll look at using Yavin shortly after. damage an enemy unit by the number of elves in the row, so basically the number of elves including self. So if there's 4 elves already on the row, you play this on the same row, you have 5 damage that you can dish, and it's very flexible. I thought about something like Great Oak, however, it's essentially doing something very similar. This is 7 provisions, and it allows us to fit more on the top end. So Great Oak didn't make the cut for this one, but I think Yavin does really well. Let's say we're playing against the matchup of Onslaught, and they have a Crack-On Crate for 7 power. We can go and we can put 6 elves on the board, pretty simple, in a turn or two, and then we can get this card down ASAP so that we can go and remove that harmful engine before it does more damage to us. So that's kind of it. Talked about the half-elf hunters. Again, just to get more swarm payoff here, it spawns another card. So that plays really well with the Isengrim, it plays really well with the Yavin, it plays really well with the Vernaciel. However, one extra little ability it has, if you might have missed, it has the Harmony tag. So if you like Harmony, this one's for you. Whenever we play a card from a different Scoia'tael category, it will give us a boost, which is kind of nice. Now, we don't have a lot that does that, but we do have a Treant. So it's like a little added bonus, I guess. Little extra synergy there. And basically, I put a one-off Purify tech just in case we have something of ours that we want to purify from a lock or a poison. Let's say if the commando off the scenario goes tall or something of that sort. But most often it's purify from a lock. And the alternative use to it is, let's say they have a defender up and they have something that they have behind the defender, and if we can't answer that card behind the defender, we lose the game. Well, we can go ahead and purify that defender instead of just trying to remove it so that they can't renew it or whatever the case might be, and then we can go and we can heat wave that threat behind it. So that's kind of the idea here. I think this plays better than Peller in this situation because it's I mean, it's just an elf, right? There's more payoffs in this deck to have something like this than a Peller. And another engine that's deadly if left untreated, Alvin Swordmaster, melee damage an enemy by 1, cooldown 2. Whenever you play an elf, decrease cooldown by 1. So you want to make sure at the start of every turn the order is going to renew. So use the order before you play an elf from hand, because otherwise you're wasting a cooldown. You're really slowing the play down, and that's something that took me some time to get used to, right? So click, play, and then it'll refresh. Next turn, click, play, refresh, and that's what keeps it going every single turn, right? Otherwise, it's every second turn, and it's not that great. Okay? Now, again, Vriad's officers are just in here to play with the Mushy Truffle. I felt like that was some good synergy here. These play for much better value, 7 for 4 when we have them bonded, so to have that extra attempt at bonding them is just better. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't play them. If Mushy Truffle wasn't here, I probably would take this combo out, but with Truffle, it's actually pretty strong. And lastly, the Dole Blathanna Bowman. I really like this card. I think it helps us get extra reach for removal. We could target a unit, and basically it does damage to an enemy for every road that separates this and that. So we play ours on ranged every time to get the max value, and we hope that they play a card on ranged and forget that this card exists, which happens pretty much every game, and I'm happy about that, right? So that's pretty much the deck here, and I say that it's probably one of the strongest swarms again because of the added control. There's so much control in this, but you'd be surprised how wide we go at the same time, and I feel very comfortable playing this way. So if you're looking to go ahead and play some elf swarm, you want something that's actually pretty good for an elf swarm right now, I definitely recommend giving it a try, and be posting the deck in the description for you guys as well. So stick around for the games. These ones will be with commentary. It's going to be post-game commentary because I was doing a Discord stream while I was recording the gameplay for this. I also did like a bit of a deck building part where I actually made this deck on Discord as well. So if that stuff interests you, by all means hop in the Discord server. I'd be happy to have you. But for now, let's get into the games. Alright, so for the first game here we got Skellige Onslaught, and I literally woke up like 5 minutes ago, and I'm running a little bit late today, so get the commentary done now. I'm thinking about taking tomorrow off because there's a lot of things that I need to do for the Qcento brand, like emails that need to be sent, things that need to be updated, and all that type of stuff. So I also want to get everything back in order, make sure that I'm getting my uploads for 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So I think one day might actually help a lot with that. So we want to get rid of that boat, but we don't really have the means to do it, right? It's going to take a couple turns here. That's the problem sometimes you might face when there's like armor and stuff like that. It's also my buddy's birthday the other day, and we have plans this afternoon. And I've known this friend since I was like 10 years old, so I want to put time into stuff like that and then just come back. I think, what day is it? It's Tuesday, so come back on Thursday with a really good upload, a longer upload, so then I'm not rushing things. It's going to be very difficult to contest this, because when they play Burna here, it removes, yeah, you know what I mean? Now they have 2 engines, well, technically 3 on the board that they're working with, and we have nothing. I think we just take Maxi here and reassess. So our top deck is really good. However, it doesn't look like we get Simlas at all. So it's one of those things you have to kind of decide, right? I think we just leave it. So, something to worry about. Because they had a really good discard package in round 1, I'm thinking that they probably have, you know, everything they need for round 2, or most of what they need for round 2. We still have to figure that one out here. So, Waylay goes back, generally speaking. And I don't really know if I want to keep the Sappers. Like, if they have Rupture that they could put on something, it's not going to play for a whole lot, but the cost of opportunity is just better to mulligan, I think, here. They're killing me. If I had the Rebukes, we'd be alright. So yeah, they're just really going for it at this point. I was thinking that maybe they go for the pass, but when you start to see things like Junet come down to kill it too, you know that they're really serious. I just feel like whatever we play here, it's not going to go too well, right? I want to hold on to the scenario as long as I can, but we're in a spot where we need to play it, otherwise we lose card. That's brutal. The issue is that even if they pass here, we're in a bad spot. Like, we'd have to play Verno or something like that to get ahead. I think at this point you gotta take care of the boat because it's just gonna keep giving them value. And we'll try and keep some units on the board. It's helpful. It's one of those things where I'm thinking that, okay, they might just pass here with the sunset to the rightmost, but obviously all in's the plan here. Leader coming down, like, it almost looks like a lost cause. I'm thinking about whether or not I take damage or I take points, and I think at this point we need points. Because the Eisengram gets way more value if we put this on ranged. And that brings up the fin. The plus side though is I feel like they spent everything, right? Like, if you look at all the golds they spent, there was like Heat Wave, there was Muzzle, there was Junid, Fukusha, Sunset, right? Terror of the Sea, Morkvark. So on a pass here, we take the Heat Wave, then we win it, right? That's huge. So we go all in when that's fine, right? We take it by the 1 point. Gotta be patient. Figured it out. We just dumped that, and I think we dumped that as well. Now, Waylay's not good for a short round 3, right? I prefer them in round 1. We'll just do our best here. We roll Protector into a Bountiful. And we should just be fine. Because at this point, I don't think they have anything left. We take the points, don't we? So we have 13 on the board plus 3 damage. And I'm just looking here at them using everything, yeah. So we do win the game. But obviously it was very close in round 2. Moving on to the second one here, this is a pretty interesting deck. So at this point, I'm thinking like a shield wall mage deck. And then you see the Revenants come down. So yeah, we might as well just go play scenario here and see if we can really push them. The round doesn't really set us up to do much else because we have some lower end elves and then we have scenarios. So it feels like one of those things. We can't play Protector round 1 because we don't have a nature card. I was thinking easy waylay, but they kind of have to go and put the shield on it. So we could just take any of the elves. I'm just trying to decide if I want to do something else. Like, that's just fine. Here we have the Adalia, right? And that puts us ahead.
You command.
It's unfortunate that it's on the melee row. However, we do want to get rid of that, whether it's through a waylay or whether it's through another bowman. The value just adds up because it'll keep getting charges whenever they play a mage. Alright, so we're not doing bad. I was thinking at first to take the waylay there on the 3, but I feel like we kind of want to keep things a bit quicker.
We saw their cities, delicate as if woven from the morning mist.
I probably wouldn't float that. There's probably now a reason to just go and try and push them a little bit more. Make our scenario count by trying to win on evens, so this will put us up to 31 on a pass.
On guard! A duel! To a duel I challenge thee!
Now we still have room to get ahead if they do pass, so that's what I'm kind of considering here. But I think if they play, we're running out of options, right? We have Verno, we have Maxi, we're not playing Protector.
I am here to lend a helping hand.
It's just when you're in a situation like this. Okay, top deck's really good. When you're in a situation like this and you're only a few points behind, it's very difficult for them to want to give up the round. So in this case, I expect to see commitments instead of a pass. And then we can just back out there. I think it's too much. We got some really good gold cards out of the way. Most of the leader charges out of the way as well. And our top deck is so perfect that we actually have to put away a gold card. So it's got to be Probably something like the Eisenroom here. We still need a unit. Okay, we'll just drop one of the 3s, yeah. There you go. Pretty easy setup for round 3. We've got the tempo. And the nice part about Bountiful is there's always going to be something proactive that we can take off of it. We get a really good hit with the Sorceress here, and then hopefully we can keep it going. Kind of funny, if you hand buff the half-elf hunter, it feels like a mini Verno, right? So I was thinking that I take a rebuke here just in case they go winch crazy or they boost that and then it just gets out of hand. But it kind of slows me down with the Sorceress play, because I'd like to be able to have a bit of a choice. I'd like to be able to also boost it and see where that goes. I probably should have taken it sooner. But here's the thing. What I like about it is that off the truffle we get the Raid Officer, and we're able to boost it up right away. And since now I know they're scoping it, it's probably best that we just use it. And making a bomb will be the most points right now, 4 points. I don't think it matters which one we hit necessarily, but so we do have 4 on the row. 5 including Yavin. It's a little bit of an overkill, but I think we have to respect that because on its order it has 1, so it plays for 5 already, but then it could just get worse. Okay, that's a game changer here. So we would want to go and take a rebuke in this case, take care of the Revenant, because otherwise they could just get a lot of value, right? The Simlas is down to 1 already. And having realized that, you know, our units are vulnerable here, we'll make them all green health for now. And there's really not much we can do about that, right? We gotta let them have that Revenant on the 1. And because they're playing Revs, I think it's a reason for us to go and just take Verno on the range row. I don't think they can catch up with the amount of points. There you have it. And so for the third game here, it's like a mirror match. However, this is not like an identical mirror match. They're playing traps. so we'll find out pretty quick what it is, but again, this is kind of coming from a place of already playing the game. I would expect though that when you run into elves on the ladder right now, they're going to be traps, which is kind of beneficial for us because when people are queuing into us, they're thinking that we're traps, and we have a lot of tempo unlike traps, so it's easier to defend a bleed. That's no big deal, we can take care of that here. Take these out, get Aileron out, and we have something good that we can flip, which is kind of nice, right? We could flip that 1 into a 3. You always want to keep the Deadeyes there, right? Because if we do go and we play like a Verno, it's just keeping the value for them. Now, they couldn't keep up with the round 1 play, and if you notice that we didn't really spend a lot, right? All we did was take the Aileron thin. So, this is kind of what I like to see, right? We've got a pretty good hand now, full of good cards. 8 in hand, we have room to take a Maxi and see if we can top deck better. I think the Sappers goes here. So yeah, it's good. Like, we're pulling into Mushy Truffle, we're pulling into Feign Death, we can mulligan back the Bountiful. Like, that's exactly what we want to see in this situation here.
You stand no chance.
So we'd go ahead and take mulligan on the Bountiful, and then maybe we look at taking away one of the Bowmans. Actually, the Sapper is probably worse here. Yeah, that's not bad. We just jam that scenario as quick as possible because we don't want to get pitfalled, right? If we get pitfall with a big board state, there's a problem. So we want to kind of play some of our expensive cards here. Now I know it's not pitfall. It could be Incinerating Trap. It could be Serpent Trap, right? There's a few things. That's kind of an issue, but if we go down with Simlast, and this is something I wanted to show you from the beginning, if I take Simlast here, we get double proc on the scenario, it finishes it, and we can kill the 3 with the Waylay. So, luckily we played around that trap quite well. I think it's the Hunter here. You get the Sorceress as well. That was a really good roll. And, yeah. Take that first. That's really satisfying leg. It gets it done pretty well. Little ambitious, but we do have the means of healing that back up, right? We have the truffle for that.
Swords I smile at, weapons laugh to scorn.
We also have the Isengrim too.
Look what square capture dragged in.
And I think here's where we take, because it can get it done. Yeah, play the leader first. It can get the Sorceress boosted, right? Which is the big thing. Then we don't have to worry about dealing with that later. Tempering's just the most points, right?
We will take back what was stolen.
I don't think that we're going to get a better heat wave. Actually, we can wait till the next turn for that, because if we ping it down once next turn, we take care of it with the bowman. But I think heat wave on the scenario is the go-to here. Let's take that out of play. It's going to be a huge amount of points for them. Yeah, so take the bowman here, hit that, take the 1, done. Then we can do the same thing with the melee as well. We take the 2, refresh the order. It's one of the better crushing traps I've seen in a long time. Truffle's not bad either. Like, Truffle would reset everything. Verno's not bad either. The only thing I'm worried about is, like, if they have a second crushing, we can lose a lot of our potential for Verno, right? The back row has 3 2s. So we avoided the pitfall problem, which is really good. Now we don't have to worry about a lot of traps, right? I think that if the last card's Verno, we lose a couple cards. So it looks like we're clogged. I'm just trying to decide what to play first, that's all. Because we'll be able to play both of them, if that's the card. But if it's not, right, that's also something we have to think about. I actually should have taken the Deadeye out, by the way. Just in case. Like, that would have been the better option, because it would have protected us from a couple damage. If we're just, you know, really nitpicking it. But even if I pass here, I win by 1 point, because we have the commando on the board. Moving on to the last point. Or, last game. We've got the Self-Wound archetype, Ursine Ritual. Put back the bricks here. It's probably just a rebuke. just because that rebuke plays for 8 points.
Don't see a gap in their armor. Make one. Ha! Let us sing the song of steel.
We'll just get that warmed up here.
I suppose, and the end.
It's just going to take the card out for sure, right? That's one thing I've noticed from playing this, is that the coral value is huge. If that's something we run into, right? Maxi feels appropriate here, because I don't want to go Purify the Defender
But I'm gonna get you.
if we might have to do it later. I think we do try and shuffle that again. Like, I like the fact that Feign Death is coming up, but I don't like a lot of where the other cards are. So we got to look at the score here. They're going to be getting points passively, and we're already down by 20 points. So I don't think that we can get it in 3 with what we have in our hand here. So, yeah. Now we got to see whether or not they bleed. Maybe prepare the hand a little bit more for it here. Look for some more gold cards. I put back Purify, and I'm hoping that I don't regret it.
Seen it all already. And then some.
I think you always just warm up one of those.
May your sword and arm be one.
And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, they're probably just playing down to 7, maybe seeing if they can scare out a scenario or something of that sort. But we'll try and hold on to, like, those ideas as long as possible. And the best part is we don't even have scenario in hand, right? But we do have Mushy Truffle and some other golds that, you know, I'd like to save here.
Opinions are like ours. Everyone's got one, but most are best sat upon.
I think that's definitely the rebuke, and then we'll just go from there because they can heal that up quite well. I love messing around with the boards. I found out that if you click that skeleton, like, the head rolls off or something. I don't know if you guys saw that. It looks like I already did it in this game, but yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, so this is kind of where I thought it was over, right? I didn't think they'd be pushing this hard. I thought that maybe Purify could be a thing for later. We could pull one off like the Simlas double manifold combination, right? And now we have to chip away at this defender, which gets armor every turn, so fun times. Slowly but surely, though, like, we have to be persistent. So, couple problems here, right? We want to get rid of the Sorceress, but we also want to get rid of the Defender. And we have to choose. And the issue is that it's not the choice I wanted to make. I wanted to get through that Defender so I can heatwave the Melusine here, but now I gotta readjust the plan. Because the value on the Sorceress is just too much.
We shall drive the ape men into the sea.
Even on a pass, we have to commit something pretty big, right? So I'm fairly confident we can get out of the round, but it's one of those things where it really kind of depends on how they go and use that leader, right? If they have like a blue boy or something like that, we're in trouble. Yeah, they're just really going for it. I probably would too in that situation. They probably think it's traps or something still, right? Expect to get bled or bled. Again, really holding on to Verno. I think obviously Verno before Isengrim would have been a bit more points, but it affects our sequencing a little bit here. because we need that card for short round 3, whereas Isengrim in short round 3 is kind of bad. And realistically, I'm looking for an opportunity to put down Mushy Truffle. That's something that I'd like to have for carryover, but we don't have the opportunity here. And if I go and play it, it's not enough points. So that's just the way it has to be. And we make it out of the round, which is great. We're not a card down. And you got to think about the fact that we haven't played a lot of our gold cards yet. So we made it this far off of bronzes, and we stood up to all the golds that they played. So it's not over yet. And you can see that here. We've got a little bit too late for the sappers, right? We need Scenario or Protector. And there you have it. So with this hand right here, we're not down a card, so I think we can actually win the game. We have a single turn proc of the Scenario with the Simlas. I'm just showing you guys here. Yeah, we didn't really play a whole lot, right? We played some good cards, but they played most. Now, Sigvald is probably still a thing. We have the Heat Wave for that, which is great. The only thing I regret, though, is not being able to answer a Melusine and a Sigvald. Like, there's really nothing we could do about that, so... And so the move here would be to chip down the 6 with the Waylay, so that we can get another Waylay that works. It's not ideal, but it's something, right? I think they would have discarded the Restore in that play. So they do play around the Waylay a little bit. We lose a point there, but it's not all bad. I was hoping maybe for something that we can go ahead and damage that with first, but the Bomber is definitely an option, but I think that the Whisperer plays for more points here. Waylay comes first, but we still have some good damage for the Priest, right? And so far the game's sort of pulling away. Like, we have to account for the 19 points that they'll bring back out with the Melusine, right? But we do have Truffle and a Heat Wave, so... And we get the points that the Whisperers get. From playing the specials. We got 2 specials to play. So here's going to be this. Just take some damage here. really comes down to the second card that they have, right? We have to just assume one of them's from the Melusine, so and that pretty much seals it. We heatwave that, we take the game, right? I will be back on Thursday with another video, and just to get things ready to go for a nice long week of stuff. I got a lot of plans for the week,
The goddess protect you.
but hopefully you guys have a good day tomorrow, and I will see you very shortly.